was a kid, I had a Sega CD. It was a Sega CDX. I didn't have a real Sega CD. I had the portable one that my granddad got me when I graduated middle school. And
We're on real live.
live.
All right, got about 90 seconds.
I'm on the delay.
Hello, what's up? How y'all doing?
I mean, I'm here and I heard that, but I didn't hear Mr.
All right,
Maya. What the
What's
heck?
up, Culture Junkie? Today we're going to be tonight, but co-host Simon says over hey, that far behind with looks like Darkstalkers 2 over there. So we'll come back to that. See, he's got a little bit of a delay. But tonight we're going to be covering first and foremost, I mean, Marvel Studios has got some things going on with Blade and also a very, very long-running anime by the name of One Piece has pretty much left a fan letter out there for everyone as it goes on one of the first and probably longest hiatuses for the show. So we'll get into that first and foremost. We're going to talk about Marvel Studios and Blade. So, guys, what's your thoughts on this? Apparently, Blade is getting pushed back again because it was supposed to come out next year, right around this time, November 2025. And they took it off the list. It's not going to be part of the release schedule for next year at all. Got pushed back, retooling it again. Who knows what's going on with it? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I was kind of like, I wasn't really shocked because it was one of those things where it was multiple directors, multiple writers were leaving. At one point, Shalom Ali, he had one of his like own writers come in from, was it? I think it was like True Detective. He had brought him in because I guess they had a good rapport. That kind of left a sour taste in one of the director's mouth, and he decided to bolt. So, it's kind of like one of those like things where it's like, I guess, I don't know, like you could say ego thing, or just like some people are just not meshing together. So, I hope they get everything together because like definitely want to see how this movie is going to come out, and then uh, have something to look forward to coming up next year or the year afterwards, and see how Blade is going to like make an impact in the MCU.
Dado, what's your take on it, man? What's your thoughts of the first of all the pushback, and then we'll get into it, obviously a little bit more of the history of Blade as we go on.
Well, I personally think if you don't have something concrete, it's okay. We've been going through too many things that have been rushed. A lot of fans didn't like it, and if they are going to push this back to make sure that the story is rock solid, that they got a director that's going to be into it, if everything is going to be the way that we hope as fans we get to see, then I'm fine with things being pushed back because there's so much stuff to watch, so much stuff to play, and so much things to build that it's not hurting my soul that it's not there. I want it to be done right. I want to be entertained, and I really don't want to compare it to the original one. And that's the point. That's the hard part. The original one is a classic, and I don't want it to try to replace it. I just want it to be a movie that it can stand on its own.
Your thoughts about the original is actually really, really a good point, because obviously with Deadpool and Wolverine, we just got Wesley Snipes coming back as Blade after all of these years. Obviously, it was more of an extended cameo type of appearance. He obviously did have some action sequences. Wesley's in his 60s now. So obviously trying to get him to come back and be Blade probably isn't in the cards. It'd be interesting, but I mean, it probably isn't in the cards. But obviously Mahershala Ali is 50. So if they're trying to get a Blade where it's like, okay, we've got Blade and we want to potentially use this character in movies down the line, maybe even 10 years from now, should they consider recasting at this point? What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, I thought what was Finn, I can't figure the name. Wasn't he like also cast or like in the role or being cast for Blade? I can't. I think it's like John Boyega, I believe. I wasn't sure if they
I
if
don't know
they
if I
had
heard of
considered.
that.
I don't know if they considered him, but I mean that would have been what a
I don't
cool.
remember John Boy.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking that been like maybe a cool nod because I mean they did Heimdall, they did what's uh Idris Elba as Heimdall. That would have been I would say like cool, but you want to go younger, he's a perfect candidate.
All right, Dada, what's your take on it?
Yes, might as well. I mean, think about it. He said he's in his 60s now. That means that he was in his early 30s when he did Blade.
Hmm.
And had the franchise gone as long as, I mean, it went 3 movies, which is a pretty long time.
Hmm.
Uh, it'd probably be best to cast somebody in their early 30s because not only are they going to be able to be get physical a lot, you can say a lot easier. It's not necessarily the truth because there's some 60-year-olds out there I know for a fact can outrun me. And but that's not necessarily everybody, but I wouldn't mind them recasting, to something else. It just, like I said, I just want them to be able to do the best that they can do without trying to force it. And that's basically what I look forward to. Because like all the Marvel movies, I look forward to seeing every single one of them. I think they're all something that are interesting to me, and I take the stories and try to have them, like I said, as their own individual stuff. Try not to compare them to anything else. So as long as I can get a good Blade that, I mean, like I said, it's gonna be kind of hard for them not to try to emulate Wesley Snipes. And that's gonna be, I think that's gonna be an issue because you know how a lot of people in their expectations are. They're going into this instead of looking at it as his own thing. Like even in the video I watched today where this other web YouTube was discussing Blade. This one guy said he didn't like Doctor Strange, the last Doctor Strange movie, whatever the heck it's called, because he expected it to link more movies together instead of just looking at it as its own thing. And a lot of people have that freaking, like, they have that expectation, not necessarily saying that you can have whatever expectation you want, but I personally want to be able to look at it as own thing. And it's difficult for me sometimes to be like, you know what, let's just focus on what we're
Hmm.
seeing here. So like if I
Yeah.
can get a good Blade, and not necessarily because like I don't know Blade in the comic books. I understand he was like some English vampire hunter that was not a vampire in the comic books.
Hmm.
And he was like that for a long time until Wesley Snipes picked him up and changed him to what he is. And then they changed him in the comic books because that version
No,
of Blade is way
uh,
better than this.
they changed him in Spider-Man, the animated cartoon. He
Was
was
Oh
actually
yeah, that's
he was
right. They did
yeah.
put him in that.
Yeah,
They did change him in that.
he was half vampire, half human in that one. He was the
Oh, so
Daywalker
they
in that cartoon.
okay. So
That was
they
kind of
changed him in there. But
yeah,
regardless of the fact they
yeah,
changed him,
yeah.
right?
No, no.
So yeah, so like if they, they're gonna continue that Daywalker thing, which I would love, but it's just gonna be
Hmm.
so difficult to be like, okay, is
Hmm.
this the Wesley that like imitation, or is this
Hmm.
gonna be whoever they choose to be their own Blade, and we accept that? And
Hmm.
that's gonna be hard. And I don't know too much about Mahershala Ali when it comes to like action movies in that aspect, because I personally have never seen him in anything action oriented that I can recall. The closest thing that I can think of off the top of my head would be
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage, and he didn't really
Mhm.
do much in that as action.
Well, no, he threw a dude off the building. That was funny as hell. Yeah, but no, yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't really seen him much. Mostly is in dramas or whatnot, but the only action, like I said, was in no, he was in well technically he didn't do anything in Alita. He didn't do much in that either, so I forgot about that one.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he
Anyway,
was a boss character. The thing about Yeah, the thing about Mahershala Ali, and again, I like him as an actor. He's a great actor. Wesley was a
Mhm,
martial artist who did okay in acting, but he
mhm,
wasn't, the greatest actor ever, but he was a good
yeah,
martial artist. That worked for
mhm,
Blade. That's what made Blade interesting. That's what made Blade fun as a character. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with this because a lot of times they were saying Mahershala was disliking what they were doing with the character, but it's like, bro, you're not a martial artist or an action guy.
mhm.
So is that part of the problem? What do you guys think of that?
It could be. I don't know what they were
Yeah,
disagreeing with, though. That's the thing is, I heard that he had disagreements, but I don't know what it was about. Like, what were they
well,
doing with the character?
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, again, we didn't hear much of what he was disagreeing about. I mean, it was so much that they had so much disagreeing. He had to bring in like you said, a writer that he worked with. So I'm wondering that could have been something that he wanted. I guess the writer that he felt comfortable with um, to the point where he wanted, I guess like control his own narrative into the actual like movie itself. Um, so that's I don't know how that you know dynamic played into like how everything was going on with behind the scenes, but that had to be something towards that because again, it's like who did you talk to bring someone else in for a writer? That's what I'm wondering too.
When will I only know if we ever get the information? And I
Hmm.
can't necessarily say if we ever are going to get the information. If we do get the information, then we'll go forth from there. I mean,
Hmm.
as of right now, we just have to move and think about what we're going to get. I mean, we're not going to get Blade anytime soon. And
Yeah.
again, like I said, that's okay for me at least. I know that Venom is what is coming out this Friday,
Um, is it?
and
I thought it
I
was.
think so. There was a preview that I
Mhm,
know Ken Shiro went to go yesterday. He went to
mhm.
go see it, and like I didn't hear too much. Like, oh my gosh, this is great! It's pretty much the same stuff we've been hearing about Sony produced comic book stuff.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I don't see us really caring too much on that one. So I'm debating if I'm gonna go see it in the theater or not, or just wait for it streaming because it'll probably be streaming by December, and then I'll just watch it here in my comfy basement, baby.
Save yourself some money,
Yeah,
maybe. I
and
don't know.
spend it on some more plastic bits.
Yeah.
And that's fair. That's fair. So let's touch on the history of Blade just a little bit before we move on into One Piece. Obviously came back out in the late 90s. Was one
Mhm,
of the films that, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of other people, kickstarted the whole comic book movie craze of the early 2000s. Kind of started off with obviously we got Blade, and then obviously Blade 2 came a little bit later, but we
mhm,
also got movies like X-Men, Spider-Man, Punisher, and all that other sort of things because
mhm,
a lot of these other companies outside of Batman and Superman stuff from DC and Warner,
mhm.
we finally got a chance to see that some of these other properties and other characters are viable. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
You gonna go first, Simon?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I can agree with that. I mean, like, it did like basically start the whole comic book movie craze. Since initial was in 98. Um, I we could basically say that also if you want to go far enough it pretty much saved Marvel because they were literally going into bankruptcy had they not decided to license some of their properties like Blade, Spider-Man, X-Men to these studios. Because like if you really think about it, I mean if Blade didn't do well, I don't think we'd be seeing I don't any of these other movies because Marvel might not have been around.
I definitely
I
think
don't speak on it.
we wouldn't have seen it in the way that we have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we probably still would have seen some of them. It just wouldn't have been exactly the same, mainly because Spider-Man, I think it was owned by Sony well before they started, making a movie. I think they bought the rights to that in the 90s before Blade even came out. And they were just trying to figure out how they were going to do it. And they didn't know, I guess they didn't have any kind of direction. So Blade
in their hands.
Blade more than likely helped push that way. But, that still came out after X-Men. And yeah, it definitely started it. We weren't getting top quality. I think the 2 Spider-Man movies were really good. The X-Men movies were very entertaining, even though a lot of people, didn't like the 3rd one. I thought the 3rd one was kind of entertaining, but and then it took off from there. But I could still see a lot of those movies still being created. What we have is much popular stuff here because Blade might have started the fire, but all those other stuff started throwing the kindling on it, start heating it up, start getting it really, really, really hot. And then when because Marvel Studios still didn't even exist when they did Iron Man.
No, I don't think so.
I think it was being produced. Was it by Universal?
Paramount.
So like they were still, if it was other studios still, producing their stuff and they had the Marvel brand on there. And then when they were making all that money, they were like, oh yeah, we can do this ourselves. And that's when they started, tightening stuff together. Because according to what I've been told, they were doing those extra scenes and still didn't know what direction they were going in. And it fit together, which was nice that they did it. But Blade definitely had a